Oh dear.
Howdy guys, and welcome to Infinity Games Highlander Finals. I'm Robert Hoover-Lark here with
Rutherford Cutting.
And just giving you a quick brief explanation on how our Highlander League began to be. So basically a whole bunch of us wanted to start playing Highlander, and it's been pretty well supported interstate and a pretty fantastic format, so I decided to start up a league. When I started the league, I was sort of hoping to get between 16 to 20 people. I'm like, if we get 16 people, that'd be an amazing effort, considering we've only ever ran 2 Highlander events here in South Australia before, and we had a grand total of 10 entrants to both those events. We ended up at the end of registration getting 32 people, which meant that we played 5 rounds with a cut to top 8. And at the end of that, it was Harley Morfitt that ended up going undefeated in the Swiss, which was a very amazing effort. And then we had Russell Cutting, Alan Carey, myself, Nectar, Jeremy, and Rio Yoshino in the top 8, which was a pretty good effort to get to the top 8 after 5 rounds of play. So after we finished the Swiss rounds, here on Easter Monday we ran the Highlander finals. So basically the 2 people that ended up making it to the final was Alan Carey and Russell Cutting. Alan Carey in the quarters managed to beat myself, and then he beat Nectar in the semis to proceed to the final, while Russell played... Who did you play, Russell?
Well, I first beat young Rio Yoshino, our very own, and then after which Luke Davinsky, the 2 seed.
Which ended up at the end in the finals, ended up giving us a jump mid-range. What was yours again, Russell?
It was a blue splashing red base Tinker deck featuring Sneak and Show.
So basically we're just going to get the deck list up on the screen now, and we're just going to give you a quick run through on the deck list. So basically Alan played a jump mid-ranging deck, playing lots and lots of disruption, and playing lots of green, white and black dudes. So basically his deck was just full of lots of little discard spells. Played Inquisition, Thoughtseize with a whole bunch of dudes that interrupted what your opponent was trying to do. So he played Scavenging Ooze, Gadok Teague, which was a big influence on his victory, and a whole bunch of other junk value cards, as he's known in here in the state. And then we had Russell Cutting's deck list, which was... Just run us through your deck list again, Russell.
Well, basically there's always been the mono-blue Tinker sort of deck that runs Tinker, Mystical Tutor and Force Will as pointed cards, usually winning with either a Blightsteel Colossus, a Sphinx of the Steel Wind, or perhaps an Inkwell Leviathan. Inspiration from this was from the last 7-point Highlander tournament I played at a GP, where I lost to a similar deck that had a bit of red influence with Sneak Attack, which basically cheats in an Emrakul or a Blightsteel Colossus on similar turns. And what really drew me to the deck was the fact with Tinker you can probably get a Blightsteel Colossus out on turn 2, but I managed to get a Emrakul out on turn 1. So if you're gonna win a game of Magic pretty ridiculously, that's probably the way to go. So I really had no choice there.
So now we're just gonna... So the way this is gonna work is the video feed is old and we're commentating over. So we pre-recorded the games and then we've added the audio on afterwards. So we know the result, but we... Unfortunately for my co-commentators and everyone else that played that event. And we're just going to do a video of the commentary of that and give us a bit of insight into the game, and we're going to go from there. So thanks guys.
Cheers.
Howdy guys, and we're here for game 1 of the finals between Alan Carey and Russell Cutting. So just before why they're shuffling up, I'm just going to give you a quick explanation of what's going on. So basically, as you can, we'll see in a minute, there's little bubbles that are going to appear, and that's what we've put into after editing with Tyson doing the editing. He's basically which gives you what's in people's hands. So that way, because this was our first time ever filming anything, we didn't have cameras for the hands, so we just added in afterwards with the editing. So here we are dealing out their hands for game 1 with Russell Cutting on the play. So you want to take over from here, Russ?
Well, certainly, Rob. As you can see, first and foremost, my fabulous moustache sleeves. Here we are gearing up for the first game.
They are still really terrible sleeves.
They're fantastic. You can see a lovely handful of islands, a couple of mountains on my side.
As you can see, the hands have just popped up. So in those bubbles will be their hands, and it constantly updates when cards leave and enter their hands.
Okay.
So did you mulligan here, Russell?
I did not. I have a pretty excellent hand between ponder to set my hand up, a remand, a four spike on turn 1. This is pretty difficult for me, and a decision.
Because as well, just stop you there, Russ. In this, they did know what they were playing and your opponent's deck list. So as we started for game 1, they've both kept, and Russell leads with turn 1 Island, and he's decided to go with Ponder over Preordain.
It was Ponder actually over four spike.
Four spike.
I was thinking about holding the four spike up, and in retrospect, as I'm sure about to see after I shuffle up, it may have been a mistake. Holding up a turn 1 counterspell was often probably the best line of play.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty crucial mistake, especially in game 1. With Alan's deck, you know that he has a lot of 1-drops, and that his 1-drops set up his disruption for further on in the match. So I feel like that not leaving up the counterspells, especially because they come especially with Force Spike, comes very redundant. And as you can see here, you just get immediately punished with the Inquisition of Kozilek. So I'm not too sure what Alan would take. Looking at Russell's hand, I would probably have taken the Vidillion Click, but I'm not too sure what Alan has decided to take here. What's your thought process on this, Russ?
Well, considering I'm a Tinker deck, the Trinket Mage does search up an artifact, which I am lacking at the moment, so that probably would be the way to go, in my opinion.
It's a valid point taking the Trinket Mage, but I just feel like, especially with Alan's deck, the Trinket Mage, like having the artifact sort of irrelevant because you run so many, and that it's not really a big deal, the 2/2. With Alan's deck, you know he has a lot of disruption, you know he has Liliana the Veil. The Vidillion Click is a big way for you to combat those value cards, and it's still very hard. But he did end up making a lie of me and taking the Trinket Mage.
Yeah, well, he does know about the counterspells of my hand as well, which is really good for him information-wise. It lets him play around my hand a lot.
Especially with Alan's hand, there might have been even a valid point to take one of the counterspells, because he does have that Bitter Blossom in his hand, which he does want to resolve, which is pretty crucial in Alan for determining the clock. But he ended up taking the Trinket Mage, which is probably a fair call, but it's probably it's a very 50-50 ball line call between the Vidillion Click, the Remand, and the Trinket Mage. But anyways,
other consideration is I only have 2 lands at the moment. With his Strip Mine, he might strip me back, with Trinket Mage can search out one of the artifact lands in my deck.
That's very true. So Russell untaps here for turn 2 of the match. I presume he just plays an island and ships the turn back to Alan.
Yeah, I drew another island here, which wasn't the best, but land is always good. Alan
untaps for his turn, draws another very crucial disruption spell against Russell's deck in Duress. Now, Alan is particularly known for taking his time in his turns and making sure that he makes the right decisions.
It's a fair enough call against a deck, a combo deck like mine. You really want to not be making the wrong decisions, because they can just come out of nowhere and kill you.
So he has led off with the Strip Mine on turn 2, and he's led with the hand disruption spell in Duress that he drew.
Here, I don't know about playing Strip Mine beforehand, because now we can't recast the Duress, which is why I took this opportunity to remand.
I think that's especially because he knows the remands in your hand. He just pretty much gave you a golden opportunity to not lose a card. Like, sure, he gets a Strip Mine you here, but he gets a Strip Mine you afterwards, and there's a chance you don't remand it, because he knows he pretty much knows your hand at this point. So there's pretty much a chance you don't remand there and try to force him to take the remand with a Duress. That way you make your Force Spike and Vidillion Click more effective afterwards. But as you can, you've drawn a very powerful kind of Brainstorm, played another island from your hand and shipped the turn back to Alan.
Yeah.
Who ends up drawing a Scriv Ranger, which is also a very interesting choice for this top 8 final, because in this top 8 final, basically between the last round and the top 8, players were able to change their deck list. And Alan has just played that Bitter Blossom and ran into the Force Black,
which he knew about.
which he knew about from one turn ago.
I think he forgot. He did imply that he had forgotten. He didn't actually write down the cards in my hand. So this allows me to Force Spike and then Brainstorm, which I feel is a pretty good thing for me.
So you ended up brainstorming a turn, which is always a very, very interesting way people use their brainstorm. Your hand seemed fairly decent. What made you brainstorm there?
It was just basically using my mana the most efficiently as possible. I had one mana up for the turn. I have Vidillion Click. I just want to set my hand up for the next couple of turns.
It's true, and at this stage you're in a pretty good position. You just play the Mountain with 3 lands and tap, ship the turn. Vidillion Click in his upstep. He ended up drawing a Swelm, which is not very effective. But here, I suppose, did you take I'm just guessing you take the Eternal Witness?
I did end up taking the Scrib Ranger in this case, because I was looking at winning with the Vidillion Click, and it blanks a lot of my creatures.
Yeah.
here I'm writing down everything. It was actually a really difficult decision. I was looking between Lingering Souls, Eternal Witness. Lingering Souls is a blank towards a lot of my flying creatures.
Yeah, Lingering Soul is pretty ineffective against your deck. It's not really even a clock in realist terms, because you do have the engineered explosives, which Alan obviously knows about, and it's only 2 a turn, and your deck can combo off pretty fast and kills in 1 turn. So
yeah, at this stage I've got Glenalundra Archmage as well.
Scrib Rangers, which was the card Alan brought into his deck for the top 8 of the event, because most of the decks in the top 8 were blue.
Oh yes.
5 of the top 8 were blue. So it was a very good metagame call on Alan's part, and I can definitely see why you would take the Scrib Ranger, because it's pretty good in this position.
Well, yeah, Glenalundra Archmage is also,
especially as well because he doesn't have a removal spell for the Vidilian Clique.
Yeah, exactly. It's a brick wall for both the Clique and then the Archmage, whereas Lingering Souls, at least the Archmage can attack a couple of times into them.
For sure.
I eventually do take it. I didn't want to leave him with anything. And he does at the moment doesn't have the second green source for the Eternal Witness, which is also important to note.
Which is a valid point, but he gets to draw another card here, which is Stirring Wild, which is a very good draw on Alan's part.
Extraordinarily good draw. Quite an instrument of destruction later on, because the 3/4 reach land is pretty hard for me to deal with.
It's pretty good, pretty fast, and fixes his mana, because his mana is a bit dodgy here at this point in time. So, and then he gets the Duress You, which pretty much takes nothing.
Leaves
which
me
it does.
absolutely nothing.
Takes nothing, so it was pretty ineffective, the Duress there.
I didn't mind that one happening at all at that stage.
Yeah, anytime Duress doesn't take cards, it's a good time for that person.
But with Stirring World, as you say, it does fix his mana, especially his second green source, which I was a bit afraid of with the Eternal Witness. But them's the breaks.
And then you get to see the card that he played, that he drew off the Vidilian Clique. So you draw Blightsteel, which you know because you put it there with a Brainstorm. So you get to swing here for 3, which knocks Alan Carey down to 15 life. So it's at the moment it's 15 plays 20 in Russell Cunning's favour.
Yeah, the Blightsteel is a bit ineffective at the moment because I don't have a sneak attack.
It's pretty garbage in your hand. It's always the worst part about these decks is drawing the Blightsteel, and you're just like, this card is terrible. Why am I playing this thing?
Yeah, exactly.
But then he gets to play Seed of the Sidnite and plays Glenalundra and ships the turn back to Carey. What made you not wait on the Glenalundra when you have the extra island hand so you can sack it?
Again, it's all about sort of mana efficiency and just getting flying power on the board. At the moment, I don't know that he's got enough mana for the Eternal Witness. I just want to get in enough power and try and kill him on the race.
That's true. He did end up drawing a Scrub Lane for Alan, which is a pretty dead draw here. So he looks like he's about to play the Misty Rainforest and ship himself down to. He's not going to ship himself down. He's just going to pay 3 mana and cast a Lingering Souls.
Yeah,
such a value card, as Alan would say.
Yeah, it does have a lot of value. It does block Vanilla Clique and kill it, and
that's true.
Glenalundra Archmage is pretty.
Because Alan's losing the race here pretty badly. He doesn't really have any pressure, but ships a turn back to Russell. He gets untapped, draws a mountain, which is pretty garbage.
Unfortunately, I do start to draw some pretty incredibly bad cards from here on out. But
you still get to attack here with both. Offers the trade with the Lingering Souls.
Yeah, I just want to get some stuff off the board because
looks like Alan doesn't take the trade.
I think he's still thinking at this point in the moment. I'm just thinking. Engaged, locked into this war.
Here comes his hand to put that in front of and then takes 2, which ships him back down to 13 life. The Glenalundra here is very good. Anytime you get to untap with Glenalundra, when you have 2 blue open, you get to pretty much counter 2 spells. Alan end of Russell turns sacks the Misty Rainforest to go down to 12. Which then at this stage, because Russell can counter the Lingering Souls on the way back with the Glenalundra, would be feeling pretty good at this point.
Well, not too good because I'm still just drawing a lot of land, but I've got to apply pressure on Alan's deck when I'm just drawing dead.
For sure.
He does have enough hate cards.
One of the big advantages Alan has in this game when it comes down to this grindy game is his manlands, and you can see that he already has 2 of them in play, which is very good for his strategy and the synergy of his deck.
Yeah, it does just give him extra value, as I'm sure he'd love me saying. Just providing mana in the early game and then late game, just constant pressure against me when I'm just drawing nothing but islands and mountains is just phenomenal.
So Alan draws for his team, but draws are Birds of Paradise, which is a pretty ineffective draw. But the reason why Alan did so well is all of his disruption and quick mana, which allowed him to cheat the curve, which obviously is good on turn 1, but not so good on turn 5.
He's playing basically the fairest deck possible, but unfair cards. Well, not unfair. Unfair strategies like jumping the curve really what push it into a competitive style of
Yeah,
deck.
yeah, for sure. So he plays a lot of disruption with a lot of early mana curse. So he's just thinking about his hand, probably thinking about what he's going to get back with this Eternal Witness, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it does look that way. I mean, he's still got Stirring Wildwood and Inkmoth to Nexus to attack here. I'm holding a lot of mana up, which is always pretty scary from the other side of a table against a blue deck, but
Surely
he
flashes Lingering Souls back.
does flash Lingering Souls
That's
back.
very interesting. I thought if you were going to do that, you'd have attacked with the Spirit first, but he ended up main phasing the Lingering Souls, which was quite interesting, which I presume now that gives him free reign to play this Eternal Witness.
Well, he had that anyway because obviously Glenrange Archmage can't counter Eternal Witness.
Yeah, it seems quite a little bit strange to flash back that Lingering Souls, especially in the main phase. But anyways, here comes the Eternal Witness down into play, and Alan is thinking about what he's going to get. Well, if you was in Alan's spot, Russ, what would you get back here?
I'd go Bitter Blossom, but he does grab Strip Mine and hits my Mountain, which is relevant because I am playing Sneak Attack.
It's relevant because he doesn't know that you have the Mountain in hand.
But unfortunately, he actually played a land this turn, which
that's
I
right.
remembered. Thankfully,
he played the Scrub land. So then Russell draws another blank card, plays a land, chips the turn.
And here I play the Mountain just so he thinks twice about the Strip Mine. I mean, it's not really relevant. I'm just playing more Mountains, being like, it doesn't really matter. But this stage for more lands isn't really doing much more than anything.
So this is the controversial part about Game 1, where we found out afterwards that Alan played actually 2 land during this turn.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really do much in the sort of grand scheme of things, but...
Yeah, Russell's pretty dead at this point anyways.
Yeah, I haven't drawn anything but land the last 3 or 4 turns.
I'm sure this was Alan's first time. Alan drew Wasteland as well, so he's played Overgrown Tomb.
My strategy here is actually to ramp up to 12 and try and cast Blithe to a Colossus hardcast. That's all I'm thinking at this stage, which is probably not going to happen.
He drew the Overgrown Tomb, not the Wasteland. Getting confused with the Strip Mine in his hand. So he's just played the Stirring... He's just decided to attack with the Stirring Wildwood.
I'm not really going to do anything about this. It's a 3-4. It's getting into the red zone.
And the Eternal Witness, because now it obviously trades with the Glenalendra. So Alan gets a ship Russell down to 15 life. So it's 15 plays 10 at the moment, still in Russell's favour. Second main phase, Alan plays Bird and then plays the Strip Mine again and gets Russell good.
Yeah, gets the Cedar Silent, which is probably correct here in case I draw Tinker, which is quite relevant.
But Russell's just drawn another land, which puts him in really terrible shape for this game. Plays that land, ships the turn back to Alan, who just has a swamp in his hand at this point, but 2 manlands in play, which is pretty good at getting a clock and kill him pretty quickly.
Yeah. I can't really...
He draws Voice of Resurgence, which is also another very good card against your deck.
Yes.
Pretty much shuts off half your counter spells.
At this point, I'm basically being hit over and over again by a semi-trailer of Hate Bears.
It's
fantastic.
The Voice of Resurgence, his play as well, which main phase to stop the Cryptic and stop the other counter spells. So he activates his Inkmoth Nexus and the Stirring Wildwood. I just activates the Stirring Wildwood by the looks of things.
And swings again for 5.
And swings into 5, dropping Russell down to 10.
Yeah, I'm not blocking because Glenalendra Archmage is much better alive than dead. It's not...
Yeah, especially at this point.
At this point of the game, I'd rather counter like the nail in the coffin, even though... So
Russell draws another very dead Force of Will, which
fantastic.
Especially after the nice timing of the Voice of Resurgence the turn before.
It's brilliant. I can now hardcast Force of Will, you play the alternate cost on Force of Will.
I actually think during the league I hardcast Force of Will more times than I paid the alternate amount of cost. Got some very strange look from some people during the league.
It's always nice to play the alternative casting cost of actually paying the 5 mana.
So Alan untaps and draws another Hate Bear in Quasali Primage, which pretty much at this point knocks down the majority of Russell's outs, because his biggest out here is probably Sneak Attack, because he has the Blight still in play. But Alan has so many blockers, it's irrelevant. So you're probably trying to survive this turn and draw Sneak Attack. Sneak Attack into Emrakul is probably his only way of winning, which sort of slows him down. But Alan is swinging into the red zone with the token, with the Eternal Witness, with the Stirring Wildwood and the Voice of Resurgence. At this point, Russell is if he chooses not to block, is taking 7.
8, I believe, down to 2, yeah.
8. So he sort of has to... He decides not to block to try and give himself more out. Taps the top of his deck, draws garbage, and will probably concede.
I like to play things out even if I'm going to lose, just for the sheer hell of it. It's always good to make them sweat.
I learned about that one the hard way.
Yeah, well, it's easier said than done. Vence is not really going to do much for me here. I can't really cast in his turn. It just gives me more creatures.
And then he scoops it up. So we are into game, as that game ends, as Russell scoops up his cards with Alan Value Carey up 1-0 over Russell Cutting.
And we'll move over to the sideboard now to talk about the options.
Explain the sideboard choices.
Indeed. In the booth.
In the booth.
On the couch.